Welcome to the SOAR Insight Lab. I'm your host, Steve Carden, Associate Project Manager with SOAR LLC, where we specialize in project management and change management training and consulting. Here at the Insight Lab, we believe there's a big difference between how project and change management are taught and how they actually get done in the real world. Each episode, we sit down with seasoned project management and change management professionals to have real, honest conversations about what it looks like in practice, the wins, the lessons learned, and the moments where the textbook goes right out the window. Whether you're studying for your PMP, your CAPM, or your CCMP, or you're a seasoned practitioner looking for a fresh perspective, this is your space to hear from people who've been in the trenches and lived to tell the story. So let's get into it. Today, we're diving into optimism bias, a subject that affects every aspect of a project as it moves forward. To help us understand this concept, I'm joined by someone who has navigated this exact challenge in the real world. Please welcome Joanne Gallagher, PMP, CCMP, and CEO of SOAR LLC. Joanne brings over 25 years of experience in project management and organizational change management to this topic. She has literally lived the lessons learned that we're about to discuss today. Now, Joanne, this is our inaugural episode, and to kick it off right, I just want to ask, why the heck are we doing this?
Well, I guess that's a great place to start, Steve, and thank you for having me. Here is the honest answer. You and I have been talking about these conversations for a while now about project management, about change management, about what the research actually says versus what happens in the real world. And at some point, one of us said we should just be recording these. And so here we are.
Yeah, well, it seems very on brand for two project managers. This informal thing works well. Let's formalize it and put a schedule on it.
Exactly. We've scoped it, we've planned it. We've probably underestimated how long it's going to take, which, as it turns out, is our first topic today.
Well, and that's a perfect segue. But first, who are we? Let's give people some context. I'll let you go first because, frankly, you have considerably more to say.
Well, thank you. Uh, as you said at the beginning, I am Joanne Gallagher. I've spent 25 years in management consulting. I've worked for the big four firms. I've done large scale transformations in technology, organizational change, and performance improvement. I've also, Steve, had the opportunity to sit in the room when project management estimates were being done for project plans. And I've also sat in the room when the lessons learned have happened for projects. And I've learned a lot from both sides. So a few years ago, I founded SOAR, Strategic Optimization and Research, which is a management consulting and professional training firm based in Tallahassee here in Florida. And we train project managers and change managers. And the whole premise of SOAR is that the knowledge shouldn't just live in expensive corporate boardrooms. It should be available to everyone and it should be free.
And that's really what this podcast is, an extension of that. And by the way, I'm Steve Carden. I'm an instructor with SOAR. I teach CAPM certification, the Certified Associate in Project Management credential through PMI. I'm newer to this formal side of project management than Joanne is, but I came to it with a lot of real world experience and a lot of questions as well. And by the way, Joanne has been a great person to ask those questions too.
Well, thank you, Steve. And actually, this is why it works. Why this podcast will work. You ask a lot of questions that I have been asked over the years. Some people have been afraid to ask them out loud, and really now we have the opportunity to connect the dots between what the research says and what we've actually seen on the ground over the last 25 years experientially.
Yeah. So, what's the goal here? What are we trying to do with this podcast?
So, Steve, I've seen a lot of good and bad projects and project managers also, and I want to share some of my experiences freely. I think there's so much valuable knowledge in this field that gets locked behind the secret sauce that people spend consulting fees on. That if we are able to put this out at no cost for new project managers trying to find their footing, and honestly, for experienced project managers too, because there's always something worth revisiting in this topic.
And the through line, the thing that ties each episode together, is this idea of connecting experience to literature. It's not just here's some theories from a textbook.
That's exactly right. Everything we talk about here, let's ground it in research, real studies, real data, and then let's connect it to what actually it looks like when you're managing a project in the real world, because both of those things don't always feel connected, and they should.
So today, our first topic, and I will say, Joanne brought this one to the table, and I immediately thought, well, oh, this is going to be uncomfortable for everyone, including me.
Well, that's because this topic affects every single person who's ever planned anything. Whether you're a seasoned project manager or someone who's just promised your boss that you'll have a report by the end of the day.
Yeah. So again, we're talking about optimism bias. Now, Joanne, if you would kind of set the stage for us.
Before I set the stage, can I do a quick exercise with you? I want you to think about the
Absolutely.
you last time you estimated how long something was going to take, especially something that you hadn't done before. How accurate do you remember you being?
Yeah. So I always think that I'm estimating correctly, of course, but yeah, I've always been off a little bit, honestly, probably more often than not.
It's not a character flaw, Steve. It's optimism bias. It's our very human tendency to underestimate how long things are going to take or how much they're going to cost or what can go wrong. At the same time, we typically overestimate the benefits that we're going to get. So, in the project management world, it's a consistent grounds for risk to be established. It's specifically why we build risk registers in projects and contingency reserves and structured estimation processes. It's not because project managers are bad at what they do. It's because our brains as humans are wired to see the best scenario case first.
So it's really not that people are being dishonest when they build project timelines.
No, it's literally the way that our brains are hardwired. We generally believe, Steve, like sure, other people may run late, but ours is going to be different. And every single time, we're the same.
Right. So how big is the gap between what we think will happen and what actually happens?
It's bigger than most people realize. Um, there was a classic study out of the University of Waterloo. By the way, that's an area I come from, where the psychology students were asked to predict how long it would take for them to finish their senior thesis. And on average, they said 34 days. And the actual average was 55 days. And only 30% of them finished anywhere near their original prediction.
So we're not just off a little bit here.
No, we're not even close. And that's just individual tasks. Now multiply that gap across every single task in a project. Imagine every single one running significantly longer than planned. And you can see how quickly things are going to unravel.
Well, really, it compounds. It's not just one missed deadline, it's then a whole cascade.
It's a whole cascade, exactly. And there was a researcher at Oxford. His real name is Bent Flyberg. And he spent decades studying this at a global scale. I'm talking about databases across 16,000 projects and over 136 countries participated. And what he found out should make every project manager pause. He found that 91.5 of projects go over budget, over time, or both. 9 out of 10. And here's the number that really stops me anyway. Less than half of 1% of projects finish on time, on budget, and actually deliver the benefits that were promised.
Less than half of 1%. So that's kind of sobering.
And the average cost of overrun across all of the projects that he studied was 62%. So put that into context. If you budgeted $100,000 for a project, you may realistically expect to spend $162,000.
Well, and I'm guessing IT projects are even worse.
Yeah, you guessed it. According to Flyberg's research, 18% of IT projects, nearly one in five, have cost overruns over 50%. And here's the kicker. When those projects blow their budgets, the average overrun is a whopping 447%. So a project that you thought was going to cost $1 million ends up costing $5.4 million when it pertains to technology.
So, what do we do about this? We can't rewire our brains.
No, we can't rewire our brains, but we can build existing systems around them. And honestly, that's exactly why structured project management practices exist. They're not bureaucratic box checking. They're your insurance policy against your own brain working against you.
So, give us the practical stuff. What actually works?
There's a few things that work. First, use historical data. Don't guess at how long similar projects are going to take or actually took. This is what Flyberg calls reference class forecasting. Reference class forecasting. Second, get estimates from other sources. Triangulate rather than relying on one person's optimism. And third, of course, always build in a contingency. And the last one is often underrated. Have someone else outside of your team look at the reality of your estimates. Someone that's not emotionally invested in the project that you're working on.
No skin in the game, in other words.
That's right. Because as soon as you're invested in a project succeeding, you're already biased. Awareness is step one, and building systems around that awareness is step two.
Okay. So the takeaway then isn't be pessimistic, it's be realistic but with structure.
That's perfectly put. Structured realism. Because the alternative, Steve, is what most people experience the stress on a project, the missed deadlines, and a very uncomfortable with your boss or your leaders about why things cost more and took longer than they should have.
Well, and of course, nobody wants that conversation, Joanne. This is really such a good reminder that project management discipline isn't just methodology, it's protecting people from some very natural human tendencies.
That's exactly it, Steve. We're not fighting human nature. We're building guardrails around it.
Well, and that's a perfect note to end on for our first episode. Want to thank everyone for listening to SOAR Insight Lab. We'll be back with more conversations grounded in real research and real experience, all at no cost to you, because that's the whole point. And we will see you next time.
See you next time.
If today's conversation has you thinking about leveling up your project or change management professional training, SOAR offers several live instructor led professional training programs. With both the PMI authorized training partner and ACMP qualified education provider status, SOAR is one of a select few professional training programs in the country recognized by these organizations, holding credentials as well as practicing in these areas. Either way, you are in good hands, so head over to www.soar.llc to see the current training schedule and grab your spot.